Now, David, you are going to talk about the vegan marketplace.
And thank you very much, Veronique. So yes, my name is David Panel, or David Paniel, if I give it its original French pronunciation. I'm not going to be using lots of slides all the way through the presentation, but I am going to start with a couple. If I just share, and this one especially, just so that you can actually see who I am. So who am I? Well, with my partner, Lisa Fox, I am the founder of both Vegan Consultancy, Promote Vegan, and the business community, Vegan Business Tribe. And as a quick introduction to both of these organizations, at Promote Vegan, we provide consultancy to mostly non-vegan high street brands, restaurant chains, and large food manufacturers to help them understand the vegan marketplace and plant-based consumer behavior. And then with Vegan Business Tribe, this is where we give back to the vegan business scene by packaging up all that knowledge and experience to support smaller vegan businesses in a collective way. We also write the business column each month for Vegan Food and Living magazine, and that's the biggest vegan publication here in the UK. And we're also the official UK agent for the Vegan Society's vegan trademark scheme that you've just been hearing everything about. So what I'd like to say is anything vegan and business, we are the people to talk to. But today I've been invited to talk specifically about the vegan marketplace. Now, I'm assuming that we've got both vegans and non-vegans in the audience today, but you might have noticed that vegan and plant-based is absolutely booming right now. Many major food manufacturers, they've hired a head of plant-based to oversee their new plant-based offerings. And companies like Beyond Meat and Oatly, they're achieving valuations in the billions of dollars. And we've just heard from Louisiana about the great work that the Vegan Society are doing, and that many large brands have also partnered up with the Vegan Society to prove that the products they sell are truly free of animal ingredients. And if I just flip on a slide here, we're not just talking about food companies. We're talking about high street fashion retailers such as New Look, luxury car manufacturers. They're offering vegan interiors, and even leading supermarket chains like Aldi, they've registered their entire plant-based line with the Vegan Society's vegan trademark. As Louisiana was saying, we've even got people like yoga mat manufacturers. We've got guitar manufacturers, even mattress manufacturers registering for the vegan trademark, because animals, they're not just found in food. Many types of glues, inks, and finishing chemicals, they're also made from animal products. So these brands want to show their customers that they are truly animal-free. Okay. I'll come back to the slides in a moment, but the reason that these companies are putting so much time and money and effort into producing vegan products is because the world is absolutely full of vegans, right? Well, as much as Louisiana and I would love that to be the case, the reality is that the best educated guess is we're probably looking at about 2 to 3% of the population identifying as vegan. Some surveys estimate it's more like 5%. And I know the Vegan Society, their last survey in 2019, I think it was, that estimated about 1%. So this doesn't make a lot of sense. You've got all these brands and all these companies competing to bring out a product that is seemingly aimed at just a really small percentage of the population. And that doesn't make sense. So we need to look at this a little bit closer. Now, don't think that 3% of the population is necessarily a small marketplace. So here in the UK, we're a relatively small country of about 67 million people, similar to France. But that's still over 1 million people identifying as vegan if you take that 3% figure. But even those figures, they are estimations. One thing is for certain. Interest in veganism is growing, and it's growing quickly. So looking at Google Trends, for instance, and that just records how many people are searching for a specific term. Searches for veganism increased 7-fold between 2014 and 2019. 1 in 4 new food products launched in the UK in 2019 carried a vegan claim, 1 in 4 products. And every January, the Veganuary campaign, that challenges people to eat a vegan diet for a month. And in 2014, just over 3,000 people signed up for the challenge. This year, though, last year in 2020, it was estimated that 1.5 million people took part. But those figures don't take into account the global pandemic that we've all just been living through, in case you haven't noticed it. And a more recent survey conducted by the Vegan Society that found that 1 in 5 people in the UK cut down on meat consumption during the COVID-19 pandemic, and 15% reduced their dairy and egg intake over the lockdown period. Now, that's not the UK, because similar studies in Germany that found consumers moving away from meat following high-profile coronavirus outbreaks at meat processing plants. So we're expecting a lot more vegan customers to be coming out of the pandemic than went into it, simply because it has made a lot more people examine our relationships with animals. And at Promote Vegan, we're estimating that the pandemic has moved the plant-based sector forward probably by at least 2 years. And this is the really important point about the plant-based sector at the moment. And if you want to write down just one note from this presentation, then this is a thing you need to write down. Because as I said earlier, it is true that the number of people on a vegan diet is increasing exponentially at the moment, but not enough yet to warrant Mars, Diageo, Unilever, Burger King, and even Tesla investing heavily in plant-based products. The real reason they're doing this is because the majority of consumers currently buying vegan products, they're not vegan, okay? So in 2017, World Vegan Day published the results of a survey that showed that half of the UK had adopted some form of vegan buying behavior without identifying as vegan or even vegetarian. 50% of customers. And that might be people having meat-free days or choosing plant milk over dairy milk. If you look at Beyond Meat, they've been, one second, I've got a phone ringing here. Coming down. That's the price of all being at home at the moment and doing these live. But where was it? Okay, yeah. So Beyond Meat, they've been valued at a price of billions of dollars after they launched one of the world's best-selling meat replacement burgers, the Beyond Burger. And I don't know if you've tried it or not, but it's almost identical to eating meat. And their founder, Ethan Brown, they revealed in an interview with CNBC that a staggering 93% of their Beyond Burger customers were not vegan. They were not even vegetarian. 93% of the customers for their meat replacement products are meat eaters who are just looking to eat less meat. And this was one of the first clear cases of a meat alternative company actively taking spend away from the meat sector. And their competitors, Impossible Foods, they've released similar statistics from their customer polling, showing that up to 95% of people buying their products are also meat eaters. And the team at Impossible, they've now set their next goal as developing Impossible milk that is indistinguishable from animal milk, but made without the need for a cow. Now, just to put that into a little bit of context, and going back to the comment made by the professor at the start, just 5 years ago, if I'd have seen a vegan burger on a supermarket shelf back then, I would have bought it just for the novelty value. Now, the last time I went to a supermarket, I counted 8 different types of plant-based burger. Plant-based brands that would have found it impossible to open up on a high street just a few years ago, they're now struggling to keep up with demand. So in the UK, Ruddy's Vegan Butchers opened in North London on World Vegan Day 2020, and they sold out their entire inventory in their first day. They took over 100 orders in the first 10 minutes with long queues outside their door before they even opened. And let me tell you, that demand cannot all be from vegans. There's just not enough of us here. This is plant-based hitting the mainstream. UK supermarket giant Sainsbury's, they also announced that it's closing its meat and fish counters because of declining meat sales. And they're now trying out putting meat alternative products such as plant-based sausages and burgers. They're trying out putting those in the meat aisles in a number of stores. So the message for companies who are looking to develop new product lines is really, really clear. Plant-based is no longer the niche micro sector it was 5 years ago, or to be honest, even 24 months ago. Plant-based has now broken into mainstream buying behavior. A typical customer for a plant-based product might be a middle-aged couple who are becoming aware of the impact that meat and animal products have on their health. So they're eating meat replacement 3 times a week. Or it might be the grandfather who started buying oat milk for when his vegan granddaughter visited, but he found that he liked the taste of it himself and it lasts longer in the fridge than dairy, so he started buying it for himself. Or it might be the flexitarian who really cares about the impact that animal agriculture has on the environment, so they're reducing the amount of animal products they buy. And it's also the student who chooses the vegan shampoo over the non-vegan one because, as we've just heard, they know it's not been tested on animals. Or it's even the ethical holidaymaker who chooses to stay at a vegan hotel because even though they think they could never go vegan themselves, they want to support an ethical business. And it's a bit like earning a type of morality carbon credits, if you will. Okay, so we really need to take a look at the full plant-based marketplace. And I'll just share another slide with you. There we go. So we know that consumers in the plant-based sector, it's not just one type of consumer. So looking at this slide, at one end, we have the people who still regularly eat animals, but they've become open to eating less. And then we've got people who are purposely reducing the amount of animal products in their diet, right through to the other side of the slide, where we've got vegetarians and finally consumers who are fully ethically vegan. And if you release a product that is just aimed at vegans, then you are missing the majority of the consumers for plant-based right now. Remember, more than 90% of the people buying the Beyond Burger or the Impossible Burger, they're people who also eat animals, more than 90%. Now, there's a reason that there's an arrow on this slide from left to right, and it's because not only is a plant-based consumer really complicated to pin down, it's also a moving target. Now, this is really important because this is what makes a plant-based marketplace completely different to any other market sector that I've worked in, that you will work in, because in no other marketplace does someone's buying behavior change almost overnight. So somebody who is interested in football doesn't change their mind and then become interested in ballet the next day instead. But with plant-based consumers, we see this switch in behavior all the time because plant-based is a journey that customers are on, and it only ever goes one way. So there are many reasons why people first try plant-based products, and that might be social pressure, environmental pressure, or health pressure. But as we all spend more time online, we're all here today, so you can't argue that point with me. But the digital algorithms that dictate what we see whilst we're using the internet, they have a lot of influence over us. So Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Apple, they're all collecting information on what they think you want to see based on what you do online. So if somebody spends time searching YouTube for vegan recipes, then even if they're not vegan themselves, it's only a matter of time before they start seeing the campaign videos from the Vegan Society or vegan activists like Earthling Ed. It's only a matter of time before they see this popping up in their social media feeds. And all this educates them and takes them further along their plant-based journey. And now this is a real problem for companies and brands trying to market to these consumers, because as someone moves along their plant-based journey, their buying behavior changes too. So somebody who starts out eating plant-based because it's better for their health than meat may be happy to go into their local fast food restaurant and pick up their plant-based option. But as these consumers continue their plant-based journey and develop more ethical opinions, then which companies they're happy to buy from, that also often changes. And then, as somebody continues that plant-based journey even further, they can also completely turn away from products that try to imitate an animal. And again, this moving target is a real problem for companies, because a customer who is choosing to buy a certain plant-based product today might have completely changed what they're looking to buy in 6 months' time. So you need to have products that cater for all stages in that journey. And we're starting to see some companies understand this. So dairy companies are launching new plant milks as standalone brands without their main company name on them. Or companies are choosing to buy plant-based brands that have already connected with vegan consumers instead of trying to launch their own. Okay, so another couple of slides at the end, but I've been talking a lot about food and drink because that's the obvious place to start with plant-based. We all know when someone turns vegan, the very first thing they do is they look at the food they eat because that's the obvious place to start. But then they look at the cosmetics they're putting on their body. They look at the clothes they wear. But at some point, they look at how they're spending their time. And this starts to affect their career decisions too. And this has led to the rise of a vegan shadow economy with a whole range of service companies that have grown to support this vegan marketplace. Because if I have a vegan company selling vegan products, I want to use a vegan public relations company to promote it so that I know that the money my company is generating is staying in this vegan economy. I want to use a vegan web design company that are mission driven and share the same ethics as my company does. We even now have vegan accountants that only work with other vegan businesses. And as the number of vegans increase, we've also seen the creation of other companies and services to create them. So again, just a couple of slides to finish off. So we've got things like vegan dating apps, like Vegely. And as a result of all that vegan dating that's going on, companies like Primary Education, they work with schools to train them how to be more inclusive for vegan school children. We've got vegan pet food startups like Do Good, and expect to see companies like Mars Pet Care also going really big into plant-based food, animal food and pet food over the next year or two. And even vegan holidays, if you excuse the pun, are really taking off, or they were before the pandemic, but as soon as we can all start booking holidays, they'll be back booking those again. And although there's a lot of investment in terms of non-vegan companies coming into the marketplace, we've also seen the rise of vegan-founded investment funds backing all these startups. So investment funds like Veg Capital, they are run by vegans for vegans, and they're helping bring these vegan-owned and run companies to market to compete with the established brands. So when we talk about the vegan marketplace, and I'm just coming to the end here, it's easy to have a preconception of what that is, but it's a far wider and more mature marketplace than most companies realize, because just having a plant-based product or vegan product, that is no longer a unique selling point. It is no longer a USP. Let me just show you this. So this is the plant milk aisle at my local supermarket. So last year, Lisa and I were contacted by a manufacturer looking to launch a new plant milk. And I sent him this photo and asked if he'd worked out how his plant milk was going to stand out on this shelf. And that's why it's so important to understand the market, because there is still plenty of room for new brands entering the sector. Remember, plant-based products are bought by the whole marketplace, not just vegans. But you really need to understand the reasons people are turning towards plant-based and how your brand can connect with that to be successful. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me. And I could have easily spoken for an hour on this topic if you'd have let me. But I think we've got just a minute or two to take a couple of questions. But if you do have any follow-up questions, then just to quickly repeat my contact details, if I put them back on the screen. So there we go. So you can contact me on david@promotevegan.co. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search for David Pannell. And if you send me a connection request, just say that you watched this presentation so I know it's a question about this. And if you are a non-vegan business looking for help understanding this whole marketplace, you can contact me through promotevegan.co and we can give advice, or we can come in and spend a morning with your team to educate you on the vegan marketplace. Or if you have a vegan business yourself and you want to get involved with an amazing community of vegan business owners, then take a look at veganbusinesstribe.com. Okay, so any questions, please unmute yourself and ask now.
No question. No questions?
As I was saying, if you've got any follow-ons and you don't want to ask them now, please do connect with me on LinkedIn, send them through, and I'll answer them there. So I think I'll pass back to Vanessa and Veronique. Oh, go on.
I have a quick question regarding the plant-based industry that you mentioned. The raw materials that these industries use come from countries with low salaries, like $8 a day salaries, like Argentina, for example. Are these companies aware of these issues when they acquire raw materials?
Sometimes they are, yes, and sometimes they're not. So if you are a vegan company, you would expect a vegan company to be more ethical than a non-vegan company, because veganism is rooted in compassion and ethics. So you will find that vegan companies, they spend a lot more time looking at their ingredients. They have to do if they're going through the Vegan Society process of registering that product. And it can be an eye-opener, because these, as you say, the raw materials, they can be several steps removed from the person buying that end product to put into what they're making. So although it's not a requirement of vegan companies, I know a lot of the actual vegan companies we work with, they care dearly about where their ingredients come from. And so they do whatever they can to make sure that they are resourced fairly.
Thank you.
But it is an issue. Yeah, absolutely, it is an issue.
Other questions? So maybe we are going to go on with the big problem of rating with Vandine.